talk about redirects, I/O redirection, and I'm going to do that until it's 3 o'clock, where we will have a break. So I/O redirection, usually the standard input comes from the keyboard, mouse, or something like this, and the standard output goes to the screen. And aside from that, there's also standard error. And you can redirect all of those with Linux commands. So we're going to look at that. If you run some command, this command could perhaps take some input, it could give output, it could do both. And this redirection will redirect input and output to any files or folders you want it to. You can also take the errors and redirect those specifically instead of it going to the regular output. So you, for instance, get them to different files. So this is per default. You have your keyboard or mouse here, and with some standard input to a command process, and it spits out some output and perhaps regrettably also errors. In any case, both goes to the terminal, to the standard output. So maybe you say ls, and then it shows it, sends it to the terminal. But you can also redirect it, for instance, to a file. And it's generally very useful when you are working with large outputs or input, or if you have several output or input, or if you want to save it for later. Maybe also you want to save the output from one command as input to another command. You could solve this with pipes, as we saw, but saving, it should have said earlier today. This was a 2.5-day course previously. But saving the intermittent result to a file is also an option. And in some cases, that is perhaps what you want. So different types of redirection. There is override redirection, and there's append redirection, and then there's merge redirection. And we'll look at them one at a time and see some examples. Let's first look at override redirection. And let's assume you have some command and you want to save the output to a file, but you don't care if it's overwritten or if you create a new file or whatever. And in that case, override redirection is useful. I mean, perhaps you're only interested in the newest output from something. Or maybe you send it to a new file each time. In that case, you do override redirection. And you usually use this here, that is greater than, or the arrow right, and the standard input is less than or left. So whenever a new program is run, the kernel, it will create a table of file descriptors for the program. So this is what happens behind. File descriptors are pointers to files. And in this table, the first 3 entries are called descriptors 0, 1, and 2, and they are used for standard input, which is written like this, standard output, and standard error. The full syntax of the redirection operator includes an optional file descriptor. So you could, this is how you would normally write it, but you could write it like this instead. So you're actually including the standard out file director, the standard in file descriptor, sorry. So because of this, remember, 0 input, 1 output, 2 error. If you're redirecting standard out to file, then it goes like this, and you send standard out to a file, but standard error will still go to the screen. If you want standard error to go to a file, you could do that. And then maybe you have standard out go to the screen. So code along if you want to. There are some examples. And we will either create them as we go along, or they are to be found in the table. We got exercises from it, and we have a redirect and link, which is the directory I'm going to use for these various exercises today. So I will go into this directory, and here I have some files, and I also have some directories. And I'm going to use some now and some later when I talk about linking. Output of ls to a file, my ls output.txt, or whatever you want to call it. So ls redirect standard output to my ls text. So I'm creating that. There are no errors, but if there had been, those would have been sent to screen. And we now have my ls output with this content. You could also say that you want to send some text to a file. And in this case, you could use cat. And here, anything you write will go to this file. And it will continue doing so until you use Control D to stop it. So let's say cat my file text. And that means we are, oh, and maybe I should also actually include the standard. Like this. Now I can just type. So hold down Control, push the D. For reasons unknown, it didn't respond first, but like this, now it did. So I got my file text. Let's see what's in it. And it looks exactly like I said here. You can see that when you do the Control D to end it, it ends it immediately. It does not do a line carriage return feed. So you don't get a, it doesn't go to the next line. There's no new line. So let's say that you want to print this output from a file. And you can do that with cat as well. And now we are saying cat is taking the input, the standard input from some file, for instance, file1 text. And then it outputs that content. So as I said before, you could also split the standard error and standard output. And you could send it to a file, error log, or you can call it what you want. But let's try and split it. Now, let's try and first run this my program. And it's going to give 2 errors and an output. Let's see what it does. Does this here, as you can see. Lots of weird stuff. But basically I just want something that would give me some errors and an output. So now I'm going to say that I'm running my program. .sh, it's an executable program. And I'm going to take the standard error and throw it to error.log. And that means that all these errors that we had here, those went to error log. 7, on the other hand, was actually the output. So that is not sent there. That is printed to screen, as you can see. And the error log contains as it should. Good. So, as I said, if I'm doing this twice, it will override it. But what if I want to append it instead? I mean, sure, I could use a new file, but maybe I want the same file and I just want new output to go to it. Well, then I'm using append redirection. And I'm doing that with this symbol for standard output of a standard input. And I'm again using these files here as well as files. We're just creating our own as we go. Going to clear the screen just to get a little bit higher up on the screen. So let's add some text to an existing file. See, we have a file that's called myfile.txt. This one here, it looks like this. Now I'm going to put stuff to it, and I'm going to use echo. And then you can use single or double quotes. I believe it does not matter. This is some text to append. And we're doing so. And then we are appending it with the standard output to my file text. It does not make an output, it should not. See, there are no new files. And it appended, this is some text to append. And it appended it directly after where we were in this file. And since this file did not have a new line after like this, then this got appended immediately. If I am appending something more now, then it should go to a new line, because here I actually had, and this does give a new line. So this is fine. You can also use printf instead of echo if you want to. Printf does not add a new line, so there you would want to add one if you want that. Because maybe you don't. Depends on what it is you're doing. You can also append a file to another. Let's see what's in file 1. Looks like this. Let's see what's in file 2. It looks like this. And I'm saying I am going to take file 1 and I am going to input it to file 2, to append it to file 2. And I'm also showing it on the screen. See. Instead doing that, if I'm not then I'm not showing it to screen. And let's see what is in file 2 now. It has the content from file 1 sent to it. So what about standard input? Well, you can use standard input to let a program know what the ending text is. That is using a delimiter. For instance, word count here will continue counting for as long as it gets input until it sees the delimiter, which will be EOF as capital letters. So, word count, and we are using the delimiter EOF, and it will now take input until it sees that. So and then it ends it. And it actually does the command on the input. So it counts it 4 lines, 25 words, 127 characters. It does not count the delimiter. Okay, then we have one of the redirection options left, which is merge redirection. And merge redirection, you can take the output of a command or program to a file. You can redirect it to a file descriptor instead of to standard output. So you can merge the output from stream 1 with stream 2 like this. And you can also merge the input from stream 1 with stream 2. So you do it like that. Remember again, file descriptor 0, standard input, 1, standard output, 2, standard error. So sometimes you want to write more than one output stream to the same file. A common thing you want is to put the standard output and standard error into the same file. And that you would do like this. So you give the command, and then you do a redirect, overwrite redirect in this case, to a file. And then you say, I want to take the standard error and I want to merge it to the standard output. That is the same as saying this, which is a longer way of saying it, but maybe it's more descriptive. So first, command takes standard output to file, and then we say take the standard error and put it the same place as the standard output. So it looks like this. You can see here, all of it goes to a file. So let's take an example. Let's play with myprogram.sh, because we know that that gave us both errors and an output. So I am running this program, and I am saying I will send the standard output, this here, to a file that I call mylog.log. And then I also want the standard error to go there. And to do that, I will say that I send stream 2 and merge it with stream 1. This. And that means that we now get a log file that has all of it inside it. So you can do that. So now you have seen that you can send either just the standard output or just the standard error, or both of them to the same file. And yeah, I think we should do this exercise. It's 1434. So, let's take 5 minutes to actually understand this, because I think it's important.